much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 15, episode 11. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So before we get into the review, we're going to get a little spicy, just a little, and talk about two things. One, everybody was up in an uproar about Kenya unfollowing Sanya. So I guess one of the blog pages or one of the fan pages of Real Housewives of Atlanta, was doing their daily unfollow, checking to see if they faves unfollowed each other or whatever. And if we found out that Kenya unfollowed Sanya. And so everyone was like, yeah, Team Twirl was like, that's what she should have been doing. She should have been doing. And my thing is this. Follows, I feel like two ways when it comes to people unfollowing. One, I don't think it's that serious because I've unfollowed people, and it's not because I don't like them or I have issues with them. It's just like I don't care to see what they post anymore or their content. Two, I can unfollow someone I don't like and keep it pushing. I don't know. I feel like a block is a lot more serious than an unfollow, but then it's like if you block someone, some people feel like once you block someone, it shows that they got to you, and others feel like, no, you're doing what's best for you and keeping it pushing. For me, I'm just kind of like block, unfollow, mute, do whatever makes you happy, So then Sanya took to her Instagram because a lot of people were like, oh, I know Sanya is probably feeling some type of way because we know Sanya wanted a friendship with Kenya, but Sanya posted this to her Insta story. She says, when you stay relevant and working without having to post one tweet and then laughing emojis. And so some people was like, that was corny. Other people was like, she got a point. And I feel the same way. She got a point. If she don't gotta be on Twitter, she don't gotta be on Twitter. If she feels like she feels like Twitter is a frivolous app, then that's on her. That's just how she feel. That's how she feel. I don't think there's any love lost between Kenya or Sanya. I think Sanya wanted a relationship with Kenya, but Kenya doesn't want a relationship with Sanya. But Sanya don't look like the begging type, so I don't think Kenya unfollowing Sanya did anything for Sanya other than make it known more that Kenya don't rock with Sanya and they should just move accordingly that way. So that's that. So the last thing we're going to talk about before we get to the review is Kenya not a little unhappy with the ladies. So before they do the episode that premieres on Sunday, they always post like clips. The different blog pages, even the Bravo pages, post the clips. Well, Bravo TV posted a clip on Instagram, and what's her name? Kenya reposted it in her IG story, and she says, wow, they really gaslighting me and add candy. And it was the scene, and we're going to talk about it, where they were doing the pottery and painting, and Marlo and Sheree made mention that like the vibe was a lot better without Kenya or Candy. And I'll talk about that more in the review, but I kind of feel like two things could be the same. Yeah, they could be gaslighting the girls, especially with the way production did them, but the vibe also could have been better without Candy or Kenya. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes even when you in the right, when you remove your stuff, the people still gonna vibe. That's just what it is. But let's get into this review. Opens up where we left off, where you got Drew dramatically walking away from the table in tears. You got Sanya, Sheree, and Kenya following after her. Sanya's asking Drew, like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And Drew is like, I feel like I'm tired of people not acknowledging my feelings. Like, I'm really trying to tell y'all what's going on with me, and I'm trying to put up let you guys know what's hurting me, and no one's taking it seriously. So as she walks away from the table, you hear Candy say, and scene. And everyone kind of chuckles at the table. Mayetta trying to act like she didn't hear it, but girl, you heard it. And so you, like I said, Sheree, Sanya, and Kenya follow her outside. So while Sanya is sitting next to her on the bench outside, she's like, what's wrong? And she just says, this situation, this lawsuit has really been a thorn in my family's side. Like, I've never went through anything like this, and it's just it's a lot right now. So then you have Sheree and Kenya looking at her like, girl, what? Like, it's $1,000. Like, it's not that deep. You make $1,000 sitting here on this bench crying right now. Like, you're good. Like, $1,000 is not that deep. So then Sheree tries to speak to Drew, and Drew is like, I'm trying to be real with you. I'm trying to like let you in on what's going on with me, and you're not taking it in. I don't appreciate you making fun of what's going on with me when I thought we got to a different place. And Sheree's like, how am I making fun of you? I brought up the lawsuit, but Drew's like, but you've been talking about it behind my back. And Sheree's like, no, I haven't. I just brought it up. And then in Sheree's confessional, Sheree was like, if you can't dish it. If you can't take it, then don't dish it. Because they flash back to last season where Drew brings up the whole thing with Sheree not paying people. And then she talks about Mr. Libations, aka Mr. Anthony. And to me, that is the same thing. It might be different because Drew is getting sued, but you brought up, like, Sheree brought up your lawsuit about you not paying people the same way you brought up her and the narrative that's been built around her about her not paying people. So it is true. If you can't dish it, if you can't take it, my bad, y'all, then don't dish it. And to me, I think what Drew did was worse because you brung somebody outside of the show on the show to confirm the rumor. You brung Anthony, aka Mr. Libations, and had him pretty much be like, oh yeah, she ain't paid me, she don't pay people, she do this, this, and this. All Sheree did was say, like, girl, I heard there's a lawsuit, and that's probably like a news article out there about Drew or something. Or probably you can go look up public records and find the court documents for it. So I don't understand why she's over here having a breakdown. And like Kenya said in her confessional, this probably got something to do with Ralph. And to me, it does have something to do with Ralph because it's not that deep. So then they flash back into the restaurant, and you see the rest of the ladies that weren't outside. So Candy, Mayetta, Marlo, and what's her name? Courtney. And they're sitting there drinking and eating. And Candy gets up and they're like, oh, Marlo's like, you gonna go check up on her? And Candy's like, no, I'm going to the bathroom. And Candy's whole thing is like, Drew has been in worse fights and I ain't never seen her break down like this. So it does feel like she's being a little dramatic. It does feel like she's acting in this moment. And I kind of laugh because it's like Candy always wants to state that, like, she's there for her friends. She's always putting herself before her friends. But it's like, even if you didn't believe your friend's breakdown or her crying, if you really cared about that friendship you had with Drew, you would have went outside and checked on her. Even if you didn't believe it. There's plenty of people that I have consoled where I was like, girl, you being dramatic, but let me rub you back. And I hate when people cry around me because I don't know what to do. So I was just kind of like, you don't like Drew, Candy. Or if you do like her, you don't like her that much. So while Drew, they go flashback to the scene of them being outside, and Sanya and Kenya, we see them in their confessionals kind of being like, yeah, we ain't know it was this deep. It's only $1,000, but there's definitely something more going on. And again, like Kenya said, this got to be something to do with Ralph. So then you hear Kenya be like, what is it for us to, it's 8 women here. What is it for us to split $1,000 so you could pay the lady and let this go away if it's adding to your stress? And you hear Sonya be like, Kenya, that's not, no, girl, what? And honestly, it's 8 people, so that's $120 or $125 split between all of them to give to Drew so she could pay. And Drew was like, we already paid it, but I'm not gonna pay her again. So I was just like, well, why she suing you if you already paid her? So then it more lends to the narrative that this is just a frivolous lawsuit. Because if you already paid her, why she suing you again? So you then end up seeing Sheree apologize to her and say, you know what? My bad. I'm sorry I brought it up. I'm sorry you felt like I didn't acknowledge your feelings. And my bad, bro. Like, my bad. They hug it out and they all go back inside. And you end up seeing production ask Drew, like, what's really going on? Like, is it something up with Ralph? And then she lets us know that when they were filming the scene for her music video of them, like, them oiling up and faking like they about to get it on, that the lady that was oiling up Ralph is the same one that said like, hey, I think you should be a part of Chocolate City. I guess that made her feel some type of way. And now he's in Las Vegas, and she was just like, with his history, I just don't trust him. I don't trust him. I don't trust him, and it's making me uncomfortable. So they sit back down at the table. Everyone's happy that they're good to go. And then Sanya said something about like, I think for us to move forward with this trip, I think we all, no matter how we feel about the person, we should allow everyone to speak or not speak to each other, I guess, disparagingly or very negatively. And then Kenya makes a slick joke where she's like, no, because Sanya says that's my 2 cents. And then Kenya's like, well, you could put your 2 cents in this bucket. And Sanya looks at Kenya, and Kenya look at Sanya, and Kenya's like, me and Sanya is friends. I'm like, are you? Because you just said y'all got to work on the friendship, and she got to prove it to you. I don't know if you want to be throwing shade at the lady. So you see Sanya just look at Kenya like, girl, whatever. So then Sheree brings up Kenya kind of feeling some type of way about Candy and saying that like she wished Candy would be here more for her or be around the group a lot more, because they do a flashback scene and pretty much Kenya was telling Sheree that, you know, I feel bad for yelling at her or getting mad at her about not being around, and then she got sick with the food poisoning. So Candy ends up saying that, you know, once you have something and it gets taken away from you, you know the value of it, so you work even harder to keep it. And Candy's whole thing is like, I really don't have time. Like, honestly, every time y'all be asking me to do something, I'm working, I'm doing things. And I feel like that lends to the narrative that a lot of people who, one, like Candy and who don't like Candy, it's like, you're not around, so why are you still on this show? Why are you taking a spot from somebody when you have, because it kind of does feel like you don't need this show anymore. Like, Candy doesn't need Roa anymore. Escape is doing well. Her Speak on It, Candy Code and Nights and all that stuff. Everything is doing very well for her. So it's like, you honestly don't have to be a part of this anymore unless you just like being a part of it. But, you know, sometimes you just got to let stuff go. And so when Candy says, you know, I still feel like I'm in the building stage, everybody is looking at her like, what? Like, you built this, like, you have an empire, girl. And then you see Mayetta being like, you're an inspiration. And then Drew is like, yeah, like, you've built all of this stuff. And that's when she says the whole, like, I like, once you lose something and then you get it back, you don't ever want to lose it. And we know them falling from grace and the group not being as big as it should be, and probably Candy and the women of Escape's eyes, that now that they have the have their momentum back, they don't want to lose it. And that's understandable. That's totally understandable. But it is kind of like, girl, if you're not gonna be here, then what's the point? But then someone, when I tweeted that out, someone said in the comment, like, a reply to it and said, well, maybe they should follow her doing her stuff. And I was like, that would be beneficial. If we could see Candy doing rehearsals with Escape or going on her interviews with Escape or stuff like that, I think that would add to Candy's story and it would give us a different perspective other than her just being gone all the time. Just that. And so then they bring up like self-care and her like being like, what happens when like you need me time? And Candy's like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, well, that's not a good thing. The next day, it's day 2 in Portugal, and everyone's trying to get ready for that day's festivities. We find out that they're going to the market, and I guess they're going to pick out their seafood or the food that they like to eat, and then the chef is going to meet them there and then cook it for them for lunch. So they're doing that. Then they're going to pottery classes to paint, and then at night they end up having like a little girls pajama party. So so while they're getting ready, I know this was like a throwaway scene, but it tickled me because it reminded me of a meme, not a meme, but a viral video where Sanya was like, her hair was all fluffed out and the hairstylist was like doing her hair, but you see all this smoke and the hairstylist like, oh my God, your hair is burning. And Sanya was like, my real hair, not my leave out. And she was like, no, the wig. And Sanya's like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. And what they figured is like the adapter was causing like a short circuit. So Sonya was like, it's fine, it's fine, as long as it's not my real hair. And it reminded me of that video. Do y'all remember that? That video came out when I was like probably in high school or undergrad, but it was this girl. It was a white girl. She was like straightening her hair, and she held the flat iron too long in that one spot, and she was like doing something. I think she was like singing a song, and then she like got distracted, and when she pulled she burnt off half her head. So then when she pulled, her hair was in it, and I remember her face being like she was like mortified. And when I saw that smoke, all I could think about was that girl being like, if I can find the clip, I'll try to feed it in. But that's one of the funniest videos because she was shook, and I was shook for her. So everyone's getting ready for their day in Portugal. We see all the girls sitting down waiting for everybody. Kenya is late. We found out that Candy's doing a lot better once she got some Imodium. Imodium is the work of the Lord, because that stuff works. That stuff works. So they're waiting for Kenya. As they're waiting for Kenya, everyone's piling in on the Sprinter. It's raining like pretty bad in Portugal because they're there during the rainy seasons. And like everyone complained, why would you have us come during the rainy seasons? True, I feel the same way. And so Kenya is walking out, and unfortunately, she ends up like slipping and falling on her back. And everyone's like, oh crap. I think Sonya saw it and was like, oh crap, she fell. So then Sheree's like, what? So then everyone's like, oh my God. So everyone gets out of the bus. You see Sonya and Sheree like, Kenya, what's wrong? And then the driver he was walking too slow. I was like, you gonna go help the lady up? So then production and everyone comes and get her. Kenya is like really hurt. Like she's crying, or like, I ain't see no tears, but I guess she's whimpering. And I looked at her shoes. First of all, I don't understand why Kenya had heels in the first place. Like she had heels in her hand, but then the shoes she had on were like house shoes, like slippers. You know them things ain't got no grip. Now, Kenya, I know you saw that rain, but you know them things ain't got no grip. So everyone like runs, like I said, all the people like run to her to make sure she's okay. Production helps her up, and she's like, please don't move me. Like she's really hurting, like she's really sore. So everyone goes inside. She asks Candy to come with her to the hospital. You could tell Candy don't want to go, and I wouldn't want to go either, because no matter what country you in, the hospital is not a place I would want to sit and wait at. But she goes because she's like, you know, her friend is probably scared and doesn't want to be in a hospital in a foreign country by herself. And so while they're waiting and everyone's trying to like regroup, we see Courtney and Drew sitting at the table, and Courtney makes the flippant comment about, you know, karma. And then you see Courtney in her confessional be like, King is a mean girl, and sometimes that's just what happens. Now, here's my thing. I told y'all I like Courtney. I still kind of like Courtney, but I'm never going to be like, ooh, that's karma for somebody getting physically hurt in front of me, unless I just do not like you. I despise you. Like, I wouldn't. There's been one person to slip in front of me, and I did not like that person, and it took everything within me not to laugh. And I just said, So for her to make that comment, I was like, Courtney, nothing you and Kenya have ever argued about is that serious where you felt the need to be like, yeah, her falling and possibly breaking her back is karma. Girl, calm down, Courtney. So then you got Drew being like, she's saying words and mentioning things that I'm not really comfortable with, and we need to choose our words wisely when it comes to making those types of references, because the ambulance then does come and pick her up, and then Courtney says, girl, she got picked up in an ambulance and Birmingham, and now we here. What is going on? So everyone piles in on the bus. It's a bumpy, slippery ride to the market. The market looked nice. It's one of those really like fresh. It gave very much like a farmer's market. All the fresh fish and the fruits and all of that stuff. And we see the chef that's there and helping them pick out food and things. And they decided they all want seafood. So that's what he said he was going to cook for them. While they're at the market, we see them FaceTime Candy, and they're like, how's everything going? They end up showing that like they're just sitting waiting in like a hallway in the hospital, and then Marlo makes a comment about like, this is when you need somebody that's really worldwide. And I'm like, Marlo, Candy is still worldwide. I bet you there's certain people. The only person I feel, there's only like three people I feel are like truly, truly worldwide. One is Beyonce, the other one is Michael Jackson, and the last one is Prince. I feel like people from other countries, like you say their names, you automatically know who they talking about, because those are three people I can think that have transcended across like multiple genres and even global charts where everyone knows who they are. Um so they were like, yeah, but my thing about it was like they didn't have a translator there with them. Like there was no translator there to like help them out, to be like, hey, could you? But then again, they were like, Maya said something about like they needed to tell them that they were like very important people. But I'm like, who is a Kenya Moore or a Candy Burris in a hospital? Unless you like the president or a diplomat, or a world renowned superstar like a Beyonce or a Michael Jackson, I don't even think they would be like, yeah, let's expedite this. You would be at a different hospital. I feel like y'all was at the community hospital and you got them community hours and they said you gonna wait. You gonna wait. I don't know what to tell you. So they end up leaving the market. They go sit down at the restaurant. They all talk about the girls and their boyfriends. Marlo talks about Scott Lee. What's her name? Sheree talks about Martell. And I was wondering, does the girls feel differently about Martell now that information about him trying to like possibly blackmail his wife or his ex-wife with like revenge corn? Like, do they feel differently about him? But I honestly think this relationship is fake anyway, and I don't even think they together anymore. But it was very much a TV relationship. Well, and like Marlo said, as long as the man didn't have on no bracelet, I think we good. So as they're sitting down at the table, they ended up telling Sheree, and well, Drew ends up telling Sheree about Candy saying, you know, once she walked away from the table, Candy said, and seen. Mayetta tried to act like she didn't know what they was talking about, but your friend said it. She said it loud. So while they're sitting down at the table, Sheree tries to mediate a conversation between Drew and Marlo where she's like, is there a way for y'all to be cool again? And Drew was like, we were never uncool until you got aggressive with me. And they flash back to when Marlo said, my nephew is dead, in her face. And Drew was like, girl. So then Marlo apologizes, but I don't think she apologizes for getting her face. She says she apologizes for yelling and calling Drew the B word. And Drew was like, I can take that. It's going to be actions before we really build a relationship. And that's truly what it is. Somebody can do something wrong, but if they apologize and their actions are like different, then you probably could move better in the right direction. But with Marlo, you never know. You just, well, you do know. So that's why you just accept it and be like, I know what I'm going to get with her. So while the girls are at the table, we end up seeing Kenya and Candy. Candy is eating, but they were at the hospital for 7 hours. Girl, I would have left. I would have left after hour 2. I would just been like, take me back to the to the hotel and give me an ice pack. And so I don't know. It's a Midol. I don't know, girl. But 7.5 hours, girl. And they did x-rays. They found out that nothing was wrong with her. And they just gave her some medicine to help with probably the bruising. And so we see Candy in the car eating because she probably was very hungry. Very hungry. The day is winding down and we see that Kenya and Candy decided to stay at the hotel, which is understandable because you was trapped in the hospital for 7.5 hours. I couldn't do it. First of all, I'd have been scared because I don't like hospitals in general, but it's just like the language barrier of not being able to communicate properly and hoping that they understand you. And yeah, no, I'd been like, y'all take me back to the hotel. But we see the other ladies go do the pottery class, and they all get little different charms, and they're all painting. And while they're painting, it seems like a very serene, calm kind of thing. Everyone's in the zone painting, having a good time, and just really enjoying each other's company. You then hear Sheree and Marlo in their confessional be like, without Candy and Kenya, like the vibe is vibing. Like it's calm, it like the air is different. The atmosphere has shifted. And like I told y'all in the spicy corner, two things can be true. Like Kenya and Candy can be right about all the things that they are feeling, but also the vibe could definitely be a lot better if they weren't around. It is what it is. But I do feel like production was trying to gaslight Candy and Kenya to paint them like they're the catalyst to why the group isn't together, where you have Marlo and Sheree sitting there, but more so Miss Marlo Hampton herself, because with the fight with Courtney, the fight at Ross's birthday, that started with Courtney coming at Candy off kilter. Like Courtney came in hot. Then with the Martell and Sheree situation, that to me was pretty much mutual. Kenya was trying to look out for Sheree, but she went about it the wrong way. Martell was trying to defend himself, and he got aggressive, so Kenya got aggressive. They was matching each other's energy. And I think, what else did they show? The fight at Beat the Bomb. That happened, y'all. That happened because Marlo started to talk about the whole shooting situation, the death of her nephew, and Candy felt like, girl, you trying to put my business and me in some mess that isn't a part of me. And both of y'all started to get loud. So that was matching each other's energy as well. So it's kind of like, they're not the catalyst. They're not. But production was trying to gaslight them, in my opinion, like Kenya said. But I do agree with them not being there. It does seem like the group gets along better. And they weren't even talking about Candy and Kenya in a disparaging way, other than when they got the phone call. Other than that, they just been cool and chilling and giggling and kikiing and stuff. So while they're sitting there, you got Mayetta and what's her name, and Sanya start being playfully shady to each other, and Mayetta get up twirling the napkin, and they going back and forth. Sanya's having a good time, everybody laughing at the table except Drew, because then Mayetta sits down and she's like, and both her and Sanya say at the same time, and scene. And Drew is like, really? So y'all gonna be the peanut gallery? Like, I feel like everyone has Candy's brain. So now Drew got a problem with Candy. So we end up finding out that once they get back to the hotel room after painting and doing all this stuff, they're going to have a pajama party in Sheree's room. The only person that doesn't come is Kenya, and we know why. She probably don't feel good. Their back probably hurting. So they all sitting down eating and drinking, and while they're sitting there, Drew says to Candy, because Candy shows up, she's like, I heard that you said and seen after I walked away from the table. I thought we was cool. Like, why would you make fun of me being vulnerable? And Courtney even tried to chime in and be like, well, I think Candy was trying to throw fun shade. But and then Drew says, even though it was fun shade, it wasn't needed. And then Candy was like, yeah, I made the joke because I thought you was doing a lot, but I ain't know it hurt your feelings like that. My bad. I just feel like everyone's trying to be sensitive, which I don't like. You can't say someone's being sensitive, even though I say that all the time. But I had to learn, just because I think someone is being sensitive and taking things to a whole nother level, people are allowed to feel the way that they feel. And if that's how the lady feel, that's how the lady feel, even if it don't make sense to you. So, like I said, Candy apologizes, but then Candy brings up, like, Drew, you've been in a lot of situations that were a lot more serious than what you had at that table. And so they do the flashback of her arguing with LaToya. They should have kept LaToya. Her arguing with LaToya forever. And when they were in Savannah, then her arguing with Sheree when they were at Brooklyn's birthday party. Then the argument that happened, who else was she arguing with? Sheree? Oh, Sanya, when they were arguing. So, like, Candy was like, I didn't think it was that deep. But that's when Candy just was like, my bad, girl. My bad. So then you have Sanya, because I think someone asked Sanya, no, I think Sheree asked Sanya about what happened with her sister. And Sanya was just like, my family dynamic is shifting and I'm trying to hold on to it, but I just need to let it go. And that's just hard for me because I want to keep it, the way it is. And she was just like, and they're like, well, your family will be okay. She was like, I know my family will be okay, but I know it's time that everybody leaves the house. Like, we don't live together anymore. And it's different because I like the way things are now, but I know I got to grow up. I got to grow up and let people do what they got to do and stop holding on. And that's a hard aspect for a lot of people, even me included. It was like you get so used to something that, like, once it changes, especially when you're comfortable with the way things are, it's like you want to hold on to it tightly, even though it probably will benefit you in the long run once you let it go. So they start talking about She by Sheree, about people buying stuff and supporting each other. Sanya brings up, like, girl, I tried to buy stuff, but the website don't be working. What you want me to do, Sheree? Then Mayetta was like, you ain't bought none of my books. So then they all start going to buy stuff, and then it was a funny moment. And that's where we thought it was over. The episode is done right there. But then productions, the screen goes black and flashes. Production wrapped at 11:47 p.m. And then all of a sudden they start talking about what happened in Savannah with Bolo. So Bolo Gate. And then Drew is like trying to defend herself. We getting this footage by way of Marlo's phone. And pretty much Drew and Kandi are getting into it because I think someone was like, didn't y'all two kiss? Like, didn't you and LaToya forever kiss? And Drew was like, I don't know who said that. Like, who keeps bringing that up? And they were like, well, LaToya said it at the reunion. LaToya said it at the reunion. And then Drew says, well, LaToya apologized to me and she told me that Kandi told her to say that at the reunion. And then they show the reunion clip and you see Kandi laughing on the stage, like kind of like, like, girl. And so Drew is like, LaToya apologized to me and Ralph. So what are you talking about? And so Candy's like, are you trying to say I'm lying? And then you hear Marlo be like, girl, you would die before you lied. Because I guess she was like, Kandi is not someone to lie. Mar said, you would lie dead before you lie. Yeah, like you would die before you lied. So then Candy's like, you need to say we agree to disagree. And Marlo said, yeah, that's a better word. Because Candy's like, I saw y'all kiss. Like, Kandi is like, you're not going to make me take back something I saw with my own eyes. So then they going back and forth. Everyone's sitting in the room like, it's not that deep, girl. So next thing you know, they arguing. And then Candy's like, you know what? This is BS. I'm about to leave. I'm about to go back to my room. And you see Drew being like, I'm not lying. And then you got production asking Marlo, do you believe Drew? She was like, I 80% believe Kandi and I 20% believe. Because I think, was Marlo there? No, I don't think Marlo was there. Or was she there? Marlo said she saw it too, or she saw, like, she heard about them kissing before, but she was like, Drew be playing so much, like, so Drew be acting, you just never know. That's my 20%. And then they do the mid-season trailer where they're asking if Drew kissed somebody and all that stuff and yada, yada, yada. Honestly, I believe Kandi. I actually do. I do believe that they kissed, because it was a lot going on. And I don't think Kandi was the only one that said that they kissed, because I remember when the whole Bolo Gate thing came out, everyone was like, they saw LaToya and Drew kiss. Like, so I'm trying to figure out, I don't know. It's just, this is not making sense. And then they do the mid-season trailer and you see Drew crying about Ty. So I'm like, is you bisexual? Is you bisexual? Like, what's going on? Or are you okay? Because if you are, it's cool, But I don't know. I was just like, okay, y'all. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.